Hey, deserving listeners, it's time to continue our journey following Eric and Larissa and Colt and Jess. Let's get to the show. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor. Let's see if anything of interest comes out of my face.
At this point, there's no coming back from this. The only thing I can do is man up and be honest with her. I'm tired of lying. I'm tired of lying to Jess about Vanessa. I'm tired of lying about anything.
She's sleeping in your bed. Colt.
It's not like that.
Stop lying, please.
It's not like that.
Look here. Why she live here? She don't have parents, family? Your husband? Where your husband?
She's going through a divorce like I did with Larissa. And she helped me. Look, Vanessa's a friend.
No
She's
friend.
a really good friend.
It's not just friend.
How is she supposed to trust him? He's trying to convince her, no, Vanessa moved in, but she's just a friend. How in the world is she supposed to trust him? And why would she trust him? And she would be, frankly, irrational to trust him. It would be much more rational to believe that he's lying because he has a track record of lying about several things. So why would you believe him in this instance? This is the insidious nature of lying. You lie once, especially when you lie a number of times, no one believes anything you say. We were all told the cry wolf story when we were children, were we not?
I just sent my for everywhere girls, but I know the girls live with me.
Listen.
I born yesterday.
Now, I just want to remind everyone that the typical reason why people lie in situations like this is because they have tremendous attachment anxiety. They're terrified of losing their relationships with people, losing the approval of others. And in that terror, they will use shortcuts to solve their anxiety that end up shooting themselves in the foot later. I don't know if that's true for Colt, but I wouldn't be surprised if that would be a sound hypothesis or a sound conceptualization if someone were to do an investigation. Let's get back to the show.
Before, Colt no talk nothing about Vanessa. He say just friend and no talk a lot with Vanessa. I don't care about Vanessa, but now she's live here. I prefer my life with you, but you prefer your life with Vanessa. Why other girls live with you?
She
Stop,
needed a
no
place to
touch
go.
me.
She needed a place to go.
Why you not talking nothing? You lie all the time.
We
I
keep
don't believe
fighting.
you.
We
I don't
keep
try
fighting.
you. I don't try you.
Jess.
You play with my face.
So he's doing that thing that he will typically do in situations like this, which is instead of apologizing up and down and explaining and dedicating himself to change in a way such that he won't do this again, namely addressing his anxiety about attachment loss. Instead, he will talk paternalistically towards her. Hey, you need to calm down. Hey, just relax, which obviously hurts more to the person because not only are you not being acknowledged or validated, but now you're being told that your emotions are wrong. So you get more hurt and then you get more angry and then you get more hostile and more activated, which, creates this feedback loop. And then he walks away thinking, oh, all these women, they're just so emotional, they're so crazy. And never does the person look at themselves and say, like, what did I do to create that situation?
Now leave your BFF in your house and live with you.
I want you because I love you. I found you. I fell in love with you.
No, you don't love me,
Yes.
Colt. You just use me.
You're my girlfriend, not Vanessa. Vanessa's a really good friend. I'm not in love with her.
All right, well, it's a valiant attempt in his way to repair the situation. He's saying, I'm saying valiant in quotes. He's saying, I love you, you're my girlfriend. He's trying to reassure her, but it just doesn't address the transgression. The transgression is multiple lies. That's the transgression. Not the fact that Vanessa babysat the cats, not the fact that he's still friends with her, not the fact that Vanessa moved into the house. It's the lies. It's the deception. It's the lying by omission. It's the disregard for someone else's feelings about that. That's the problem. So if you address that directly, there might be a chance for a reparation, but without that, I can't see this turning around. But who knows? A lot of these couples, they seem to turn things around in ways that I'm like, oh, okay. So let's see.
It's true.
I'm not in love with Vanessa.
You always you victim. Always you.
Listen.
I good boy, but no, you play
Stop.
with woman. Stop you.
I never used you for anything.
So you see that vicious cycle of she's hurt and communicating it in a calm way. He just doesn't acknowledge it and dances around the issue and says, calm down, and you're being ridiculous. Essentially, the message is, I'm in love with you, you're being ridiculous. You're my girlfriend, you're being ridiculous. Instead of, oh my God, I'm so sorry I lied to you, and it makes sense that you're upset. If he would just say something along those lines, I'm guessing she would be validated. I'm guessing she wants to break up with him, but it would calm the situation down. Instead, his approach obviously causes more hurt and more concern, and then she starts to get physical. So I'm worried about this situation.
Anything.
What the hell's going on?
Look,
Okay, stop.
Jess acts the same as she always does. She just flies off the handle, and you can't talk to her.
Debbie, I want to talk to you.
I really feel sorry for her, in a way. I really do. But I think she brought all this on herself.
How? How? Now, I'm guessing what the logic there is, the fact that they have a lot of conflict that leads to them breaking up occasionally, which leads to him flirting with other women. I'm guessing that's what's behind that, but certainly that wouldn't be the overall narrative that people watching the show would have. But who knows what's going on behind the scenes.
This is too much for me because I really love it. Colt. And Colt all the time in life for me.
All right, 2 thumbs up. There's a lot of health going on right here. She is sad and crying and expressing a very normal emotion, and the mom is taking care of her. It sounds like in the back of the mom's mind is she believes it's all Jess's fault, but at least on the exterior, she's being nice. When I see something good, I want to give it a 2 thumbs up, so I saw something good, 2 thumbs up.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Why you play with my face? Why you play with my family?
I'm not in a
Colt?
relationship with Vanessa.
You
Just
have
friends. Sit down.
no friends, no
They are
friends.
friends.
Think with a woman. Now, please. You have a boyfriend, and your best friend leave your house and sleep the same house.
So it's normal to be hurt, to feel invalidated, to feel dysregulated, and to focus on something that might be a little myopic. She's focusing real hard on this Vanessa person cannot be just a friend. Well, she could be. She also could not be. There's just no way for any of us to know because the show hasn't shown us anything. And Colt is saying that they are friends, but of course we can't believe him because he lies about a number of things. So who knows? But she's really focusing on that, and she's not going to get reassurance from either one of these people. I think that if I were there, I'd be like, yeah, I get that you have suspicions. It makes total sense given the fact that there's a track record of lying. But I want to highlight the main issue that I see, if I were in your shoes, is the fact that you're just being lied to and you're being talked down to as if you're the dumb one or you're the wrong one or you're wrong to have those emotions. I think that's the main that we can say for sure happened, and that we can say for sure would be very upsetting. Whether or not Vanessa is in a romantic or sexual relationship with Colt or not, we just don't know either way. It's a big question mark. It could go this way, it could go that way. But the fact of all the lies and all the hurt and the discounting, that we know happened.
The same bed. It's okay for you?
No, but
No,
off and on,
please.
for
Think
months.
about a woman. Think about me now, please. It's no normal.
I'm the one that asked Vanessa to move in. I'm the one. I did it without his permission. I said, you can move in.
Why not talk with me?
I wanted to.
I have a part of your family, no, because I girlfriend.
He didn't want to tell you because he knew how much you hated Vanessa.
All right, so there's a lot of things that we could say that aren't being said, which is I believe the mother, Debbie, has admitted to a Machiavellian plan to infiltrate the relationship between Jess and Colt. And perhaps the mom asked Vanessa to move in because she knew it would disrupt the relationship between Colt and Jess. Another thing that we could say here is Colt just said, I wanted to tell you. Again, implied there is, I wanted to tell you, but I couldn't because you're so crazy. What? And I would wonder what is in Colt's history that leads him to believe that. There's so many different hypotheses and conceptualizations, but just to throw out another one, and this is kind of a shade on things, meaning a shade off of what I've said before, which is that if Colt was being raised in an environment where he felt like he couldn't express himself, or that if he did something wrong, he would be punished very severely, and he lied to either get, say you're 10 years old and you were walking home from school and you accidentally step in a puddle or something. That would never happen in Vegas, of course, but just go with me on that. And you get home and one of your feet is really wet and your parent just comes down on you hard and is just like, what's wrong with you? I told you to take care of your shoes. And in your mind, as a 10-year-old, you're thinking, I really was trying to take care of my shoes, but I accidentally stepped in a puddle. And I feel like I'm being treated unfairly right now. And I'm terrified. I want to say, but I tried to protect my shoes. I really was. But you're so afraid. And when you do that, you get punished. You might say something like, well, Steve, the bully, he pushed me into a puddle, and that's why my foot is wet. So you would lie knowingly because you're in a real sticky situation. If you rinse and repeat that enough times as a child, as an adult, you might feel overly justified to lie when you feel like someone's emotionality is hurtful to you or scary to you. That someone else is being emotional, someone else is on the brink of disapproval, and you're very quick to lie in a situation like that. Some of you watching right now might actually even have a problem with that. Some of you might have had partners like that. Some of you might have kids like that, frankly. Some of you might have had parents like that. And it's not good, right? And it's an immoral act to lie to someone just straight to their face when there's so many other options available is not okay. It's bad behavior. But when we understand it, then we understand what to address, particularly in the individual. If this were an accurate conceptualization for someone, then we would know, okay, we need to help that person feel secure. We need to help them recover from those past traumas such that they don't have a knee-jerk automatic reaction to lie as an adult.
She has no feelings for Colt. She has no feelings for Colt. She doesn't,
No feeling, but live here.
Why don't you go upstairs?
all right.
Why you date with me?
I should never have gotten in a relationship with you after Larissa. But I fell in love with you. I love you.
Woo! You have big heart. You love me, you love Vanessa, you love Larissa, you love everybody. Have more space for more? Oh, have. Just say hi. Good morning, my I love you.
I treated you wrong.
All right. So again, every time he does this, I want to commend the tiny step towards months, if not years, of apologizing that is necessary to recover. This is a long time coming. He should have been constantly saying every other sentence. He should have been, yes, I know, I'm sorry. And then a little bit more, and then check, yes, I know, I'm so sorry. There's something wrong with me. You're right to be upset. In terms of what we've seen on the TV show, I think there's been a total of 3 apologies that he, 3 I'm sorry sentences that have come out of him. Of course, you need a lot more than that. You need a lot more acknowledgement, taking responsibility. This is what I did wrong. This is how I'm working on it so it won't happen in the future. I understand why you feel that way. I don't know what's wrong with me. Just a lot more talk to convey to the other person that you truly are sorry. But in order to do that, you have to be in touch with yourself. You have to be secure enough in yourself. You have to be mature enough. And those things aren't necessarily present in every adult.
I love you. No, you don't believe that? Jess.
I don't, Colt. I'm so tired.
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry that I wasn't a very good boyfriend. I'm sorry.
I just want to throw out another hypothesis that just popped into my mind because there's just so many different possibilities as to why he would have flirted with other women over social media. And by the way, I have a big question as to whether or not those were consensual private part pictures or not. If they were consensual, like everyone is sending naked pictures of themselves to each other, meaning that Colt would send a picture, they would send a picture, and it was all consensual, then okay, it's consensual. It's still lying and cheating, I think, on Jess. We're still unclear as to whether or not Jess and him were actually broken up, but it sounds like they weren't. Another scenario, which sounds like it could be possible, is that some of these women, if not all, this was not consensual private part pictures being sent from him to other people, in which case we're looking at a crime, essentially. I mean, it should be a crime. It's a sexual assault. Anyway, so, I don't know what's happening there with that, but to hypothesize about why he would do that, I wonder if there's some kind of grandiose need to prove to himself that he is attractive. There's actually, for some people, they do have this compulsion to frequently flirt with other people. And with social media, it's much more tempting. Before social media, before cell phones, you had to actually go out and get in your car, get in a cab, and go to a bar and try your best in that situation. So let's start from the beginning. So you have an emptiness inside of you that's due to early childhood neglect or trauma. And you're trying to fill that emptiness with a lot of different things. And for some people, they might try to fill that emptiness with flirting, with little moments of self-esteem where you flirt with someone online and they flirt back. And you're like, oh, I'm now a worthy human being. Someone likes me enough to flirt back with me. This is absolutely a pathology that some people suffer from, meaning that they're not actually doing better from it. This actually results in a lot of suffering for them. It interferes with their relationship, with work, with their self-esteem. There's a whole slew of things that the way I'm characterizing this. Now, there's nothing wrong with flirting with someone online. There's nothing wrong with getting a little bit of self-esteem from that. There is something about it becoming a compulsion to some people. They need to do it. They do it in spite of it harming other relationships that they absolutely want to sustain. And some people are like that. I don't know if Colt is like that, but that would be an hypothesis that would be worthy for him to explore when and if he goes to therapy. Hey, deserving listeners, as you know, I'm constantly recommending that people go to therapy. We all need therapy from time to time. One of the options available that is definitely worth checking out is BetterHelp.com. So if you're looking for a therapist, I would give it a try by going to BetterHelp.com/Kirk. Make sure you use the /Kirk because you get 10% off your first month and it helps us out. I get a lot of emails from you saying that you're looking for a therapist. As you watch these videos, I know many of you have been motivated to find your own therapist, but I know it can be really hard to find a good one to work with. Like I said, one of the options available to try is BetterHelp.com/Kirk. And you should know that this service is available to clients worldwide, which is amazing. I've been told that you can start communicating with your therapist in under 24 hours. You can message with your counselor anytime. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions. And I've been told that it's often less expensive than in-person therapy. So go to BetterHelp.com/Kirk to get 10% off your first month of therapy today.
Bye, Jess.
I thought Colt loved me, but Colt no respect me.
I done with Colt forever. I don't want Colt with my life. Colt's trash man, not man enough.
So I want to be clear about something, and sometimes people misunderstand me, and I can tell in the comments that I'm not saying something that I need to say to clear something up, which is when I have a conceptualization of someone that is doing something harmful, I'm not saying you're supposed to put up with it. So let's say that you have a spouse who does what Colt is doing, and your conceptualization, as you're hearing me talk about it, you're like, I wonder if my spouse was like that. or I wonder if my spouse is like that. He or she or they are lying to me frequently, and I wonder if it is because of early childhood and trauma and their anxiety or their compulsion or whatever it is. It comes from a place that is as a place of suffering. The behavior that makes you suffer comes from a place of where they're suffering. It's an answer to their suffering that actually causes other people to suffer. That's a really great way of putting it. I like that. that a lot of suffering happens relationally because someone is trying to cure their suffering at the expense of you, and they're so focused on themselves because, the thing that the analogy I often give is you're riding a bike and you crash and you really hurt your leg, and someone comes up to you and asks you for a favor, you're going to be like, screw you, my leg hurts. If someone came up to you and said, hey, could you help me with my taxes? You'd be like, screw you, my leg is in utter pain, right? So from the outside, if you didn't know that the person crashed their leg and crashed their bike and hurt their leg, you would think, wow, that person's being really mean. The person had a really nice request of like, hey, could you help me with your taxes? So just because we can't see the pain doesn't mean it's not there. Now, here's what I want to clear up. I'm not saying you're supposed to put up with it. Sometimes people hear me when I have, shall we say, caring, compassionate conceptualizations of people. They think, so are you telling me I'm supposed to put up with that? No, I am not. I wouldn't put up with it. If I was involved with someone that exhibited Colt's behavior and I analyzed it and I was like, I wonder if that's why, and I probably would be able to conceptualize, and believe me, I have in the past, and would be able to say, yeah, I know my partner has been through a lot of abuse and I can see the connection there. But that doesn't mean I put up with it. It means that I can have compassion for them, but is it my job to be the punching bag for someone else's suffering? No. Now, it might help me to advise the person or to conceptualize it or to work in a way together where we both have our issues and I can word things in a certain way that it could work out for the better. But in the end, if I'm continuing to suffer, even though I understand it's not actually their fault, so to speak, or at least it comes from a place of suffering for them, that doesn't mean that I put up with it. And it doesn't mean that you put up with it. There are certain personality types and behaviors and profiles of humans that I avoid with a 10-foot pole in any situation, whether it's as a colleague or as a friend or as a partner or as a family member. Now, the one place that I will accept people in a situation are clients. I actually love working with clients who have these kinds of issues. I specialize in that sort of thing. They often are on a personality disorder spectrum of some sort, and that's where I thrive. I like working with people like that as clients. But would I want to have them in my personal life? I'm not so sure. I've diagnosed all sorts of people in my personal life, and people say, "Oh, that's wrong." Not really. I mean, if you're a plumber and you walk into a friend's house and you see a problem with a faucet, do you just look away? You can't help but to see, oh, something's wrong with that faucet. And every time you use the faucet, it's sort of annoying to you. You might look under the sink and go, oh, I see what's wrong with this faucet. Well, that's what I do. When I'm annoyed with someone, I'm like, I bet you I know it. Because it usually helps me to make a choice. If I can see it more accurately, it usually compels more compassion. And a lot of times that means that I can actually not take it personally and I can work with people in these ways. But there are other times when I actually have a conceptualization of someone and I do my best, but then I'm like, no, like this is too much. Or my relationship with the person is such that I can't really interact with them in a way that can repair the damage that's happening to me. If someone's close enough to me, then I can actually engage with them and we can level with each other and apologize and hug it out, and I can explain how they're affecting me or that sort of thing. But if they're further away from me, I don't really have that luxury, or at least that's just not the style of life I want to live. But anyway, I want to be clear that as I talk about conceptualizing people, and you're thinking, oh, I now feel bad for my spouse, even though I'm the victim of their abuse. Okay, but if you also think, oh, that means morally I'm supposed to stay with them because now, you have a spouse that you know went through terrible physical or sexual abuse as a child, and you just know that. And you also know that your spouse victimizes you and harms you and emotionally abuses you and does all these terrible things, maybe cheats on you. And you're thinking, I think I can see how that'd be connected to their physical and sexual abuse when they went through when they were growing up. Okay, so fine, and it's up to you to make a choice, but in no way am I saying you're supposed to put up with it. We all have to draw boundaries. We all have to say, nope, that's my line in the sand. I've given that person a number of chances. I've done what I could. This is my perspective. I'm on this planet one time. Or at least I'm in this lifetime one time, depending on your belief system. And I'll be damned if I'm going to spend years of my life dealing with relationships that make me feel like utter crap. I have surrounded myself through selective processes with people that I love that don't make me feel like crap, and I've distanced myself from people that make me feel like crap. So just because I conceptualize people in a compassionate way does not mean that I say, and thus I have to victimize myself and sacrifice my well-being at the altar of their problems.
At this point in my relationship with Jess, I know it's over. There's no point in trying to fix it. I most definitely was not a good boyfriend to Jess. I've made so many mistakes, it's going to take a long time for me to reflect and process everything.
That would be fantastic, Colt. I really hope that you mean that. I don't trust anyone on this show that they actually will do that they'll actually go to therapy with a therapist that actually specializes in this issue and actually take the time to figure, how did I go down that road where I ended up harming those around me and I'm alone again? Yes, Colt, I really hope that you do that. And I hope you find a good enough therapist that works for you. But if you're not going to do that and you're just going to repeat the same pattern of recovery that you've done in the past, then you'll be right back where you started. And I'm guessing this reality TV show will document the whole thing. We'll find out together, won't we?
Ever since my divorce, I've tried to make a better Colt, but I've just made things worse. I feel like I don't know who I am anymore.
So I don't know. But one of the things that can happen with people who have that emptiness, and the emptiness is created because it's not actually empty, it's actually a disconnection. When the analogy I use is you're looking into a room that is yourself, you're reflecting on yourself, and you're looking into a room through a doorway, and it's pitch black, you can't see anything. And so you assume, it's empty. There's nothing in that room. It's just a complete void. It's just like blackness. But that's because you were never able to turn up the dimmer switch to actually look into the room and see yourself. When we're young, we're 1 year old, we haven't yet been able to look into that room of the self. As we enter later years, we're 1.5, we're 2, we're 2.5, we're 3. If we're given good enough parenting that is attuned to our feelings, meaning that your parents, your caregivers notice your feelings and react in ways that make you feel attachment secure and reduce your distress of being alone or whatever it is that you're distressed about, and your parents mirror your experience, they will say, oh, I see you're upset, or I see you're happy, or I see that you're enjoying doing that thing, or it looks like you need a nap, or it looks like you're really good at that, or it looks like you need to practice more of that. Like a lot of reflection from words and facial expressions to a child, and they're watching the caregiver, and the child is seeing themselves through their parents' eyes and going, oh, that's what I am right now. I'm angry. I didn't know that. Oh, that's what I am. I'm grumpy. Oh, that's what I am. I'm tired. Oh, that's what I am. I'm happy. Oh, and they start to discover, like, okay, I see my parents, who I really love and trust, telling me that I'm joyful right now. What does it feel like to have joy? That's the discovery of the self. That's turning up the dimmer switch on the bedroom and looking in and saying, oh, there's a bed. Oh, there's a desk. Oh, there's a poster. Well, if you don't have that growing up, then you don't at the age of 35, you could still be looking into the room and seeing nothing, and it feels empty. So there's a lot of problems with that. One is that you won't know what your needs are, because the only way to know what you need is if you can see into the self, if you can notice what's happening in your body. And again, it's an ongoing iterative process of discovery in a young child. And young children are actually evolutionary predisposed to soak that up at that age. It's much harder to do that later in life. In the same way, it's harder to learn a language. But you can do it. Age of 35, you can learn a new language for sure. It just takes longer, and you're never quite fluent, if you will. So my point is that he's saying right now, I don't even know who I am. It's possible that for him, unless he has some distraction, which he might actually seek to distract him from the fact that he can't see anything inside of himself, that when those distractions aren't there and he's left just facing himself, that he actually says, I don't know who I am. I don't know what I am. I don't know what I need. I don't know what's there. I don't know what the future is. I don't know who I am. I don't know how people see me. What am I? And that can be very distressing to people. Some of you watching might have that experience. And if you do, I hope to God you're in therapy, because that is what therapy is for. Therapy, what it does is it corrects for that problem that you had when you were 2. When you were 2, you were supposed to be properly attuned to and not terrorized. Well, if you were neglected and or abused, then you missed that period of time, and you have to do it when you're older. And as your therapist is attuned to you and mirrors you and sees you and says, oh, I see that you're upset, or, oh, that feeling is valid, or, oh, what's going on in your mind right now? What do you want? What do you feel? These kinds of questions and reflecting and attunement and empathy are what can correct for the past. As therapy does that, you slowly start to turn up that dimmer switch, and you're like, oh, I can see inside that. And as a therapist, it is a glorious thing to do. It takes a long time, but it is a wonderful thing to witness in people. It's a wonderful way of tracking therapy success. In the beginning, I'll ask someone, how do you feel? What do you want? And there's no discernible response or no cogent response. And I know that, okay, we got to add that to our goals in therapy. 2 years later, 3 years later, I ask them, how do you feel? What do you want? And they have some answers. Sometimes not super confident or super solid or super stable, but they're there. And then a couple years later after that, they're very comfortable answering that question, and they frequently check in with themselves in between sessions. They don't need me to ask that question anymore. Anyway, so I wonder if that's what Colt is going through right now. I don't know. I'd have to ask him. But I wouldn't be surprised, given the overall conceptualization that I've had, or hypotheses of conceptualization, that due to early childhood issues, either from his mom or from his dad or both or some other reason, he lacks a connection with his needs, doesn't really know who he is, doesn't really know what he wants. It has a lot of self-esteem issues, believes that no one's going to love him, is in a constant state of distress and anxiety, and will use a lot of different ways to try to gain attachment security. But he's so scared deep down that he'll lie, he'll cheat he'll lie because he needs to lie to trick people into loving him, which of course backfires. He'll cheat because his girlfriend isn't around to give him a little bit of self-esteem in the moment, and he's starting to plummet into that emptiness. And so he'll flirt online to getting some kind of approval from another person, to get a little hit of self-esteem of like, okay, I'm worth it. People like me for this reason. And then when everything comes crashing down, which I'm guessing this is not the first time or second time this has happened in his life, then he's like this. He's drinking, he's in a lot of despair, and he doesn't know who he is. If you haven't already, become a patron of the podcast by going to patreon.com, going to our page, and become a patron. That's how we know you like what we're doing here, and it really is the wind beneath our wings. And also, that's the end of this episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.